storyteller yet. I haven't.
Come on.
Right now. This, let me get, I got a couple notes. This is the first time I've done anything like this, by the way.
You got it.
Oh, funny story before the inspirational story. When I saw the advertisement that asked for people, they're interested in telling a story to submit their story, I missed the part where it was supposed to be inspirational. So I told him the story about me getting arrested in a cat house in Uruguay. That's a damn good story. And I just told it the previous week. But he was like, what's inspiration about it? He was like, oh, okay, I got another one for you. So, inspiration, and thank you for that. And this whole thing makes a whole lot of sense. I've dated an Irishman for a while. Way back when it was from Belfast, this whole thing makes a lot of sense. As far as storytelling, liquor, music, fun. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. So, my story is going to be about when I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Congo in Central Africa in 1992 to 1993. And because our printer broke, I have a description. There are 2 Congos. Do people know that? I did not know that before they shipped me over there. There's the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's the one you normally hear about in the news. That's the big one right here, the one that's the former Zaire. That was colonized by the Belgians. Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, and Rwanda, those 2 little ones right there, those were all the previous Belgian Congo. The one right across the Congolese River from the DRC is called the Republic of Congo. That was colonized by the French, that's where I was. The difference between the 2, well, there's a lot of differences between the 2, but a big difference between the 2 is that when all the African nations went, in the 1960s, when they established their independence, the Republic of Congo, the French colonized one, where I was, went with the Soviet Union. Almost all of the continent went with the West. They went with the United States, they went with France, they went with, their colonizing countries. The Republic of Congo decided to go with the Soviet Union. So all the elite Congolese where I was were educated in either the Soviet Union or Cuba. They had never met any Americans at all. The Peace Corps started 1 year before I was deployed in the Republic of Congo. So they were not used to Americans. They were not used to the Peace Corps. They didn't know how we worked. They didn't understand how we work. Typically in Africa, what happens is, a big colonizing power will come in and say, oh, like the Chinese where I was, we'll build you a big old dam right there. Well, the reason they're building a big old dam is because they need to get something there.
Come on.
Or the Italians built a big logging road. The reason why they were building that logging road is because they wanted that big old timber in order to get to the, in order to get to the rail line and ship it out, sell it off. Anyway, so how Peace Corps works, at least back then, I don't know about it now, but we have 2 months of training in all of the Central African volunteers were trained in Burundi, in Bujumbura. This was a year before the genocide, the Rwanda and Burundi genocide. I was there a year before that. And we trained right here in Bujumbura for 2 months. And then they shipped us into country. And while we were in Bujumbura, the majority of what we did is learn the language. There wasn't so much a lot of technical stuff. Like they taught us how to ride motorcycles. I already knew how to ride motorcycles because I had a KZ550 at home. So we had 5 people. I was a water and sanitation technician. My background, what I graduated with a degree from, is civil engineering. So but it didn't matter. One of the other 5 guys had a degree in geography, and I'm like, what the hell? He probably knew there was 2 Congos. I didn't. Anyway, so there were 5 water and sanitation volunteers in this Congo. So after the 2 months where we mostly worked on French and a couple other things, they shipped us in country, and then we kind of been a month where they taught technical things like how to mix concrete and how to tie tie wire and how to figure out, a material list for the projects that they gave us. Of the 5 different people, each one of us had different projects that they wanted us to concentrate on. My project was latrines. Actually, that was my specialty. There's something called VIP latrines, which is ventilated, improved pit latrines. They do not smell and they do not have problems with flies. Peace Corps volunteer from the former Zaire. Zaire was off. We were not allowed to go into Zaire at this point. They had too much of at the time, because this was 92, they had descended into too much political instability to have Peace Corps volunteers. But anyway, it was a previous volunteer in DRC that developed it. So, when they ship you off to your site, and my site is Sabiti, which is that little like dot right there. So it took me a day to travel. And the DRC, the description, when people say, where are you from as far as which Congo, you're either from Congo Kinshasa or Congo Brazzaville. I was from Congo Brazzaville. So right across, like it's right there is Kinshasa and Brazzaville. So Sabiti's up here. And it took about a day for me to travel from Brazzaville up to my site. So another thing that they tell you, I'll refer back to this later. Another thing they tell you is, your one particular emphasis, which mine was latrines. There's only so much time you can devote to that specific work in a day. So what they would like you to do is they would like you to, look around the town. I was in Sabiti, which was about 10 to 15,000 people. It was the equivalent of a county seat, so it was pretty big. They have like an everyday market versus a weekly market or a monthly market. So what they want you to do is, as you're going about your business, figure out, look around and see what else needs to be done. And you can work on that as a side project. So they taught us, before they sent us out there, they taught us different things depending on what the project was. So as a side project would be protecting a source. I was in the jungle, y'all, like jungle. There was no shortage of water. What there was a shortage of potable water. So in order to protect the spring, in order to protect water when it comes out of the ground, comes out of an angled ground like this, as it's called in French, it's called a source. Because I was doing all this in French, y'all. That's another thing. Like everything that I'm talking about doing, I was doing in another language, halfway around the world, away from everybody I'd ever known, with no air conditioning, no electricity, no water, no nothing. All right, so that's something you kind of got to keep in mind. It's like, that's what it was like. Toughest job you'll ever love. Y'all know that? Yeah. The Americans here have heard that. Toughest job you'll ever love. Irish probably got heard that. Anyway, so as I was going about my business, one thing I noticed, because I had to gather the water that I drank. I lived about 1.5 clicks. Irish use clicks. I lived about 1.5 clicks from the center of town, and about 1 kilometer from the center of town, from where all the marché was and stuff, was where everybody collected their potable water. And it could take the better part of the day. I mean, you typically get a big family, usually women, children, would bring their big bidons, and and they would walk out to where this one location for potable water was, and then there'd be a big old line, and it would take like hours to fill up all your bidons, and then you have a wheelbarrow, you got to trudge back another place to go back to your house. So it would take a good day to supply a family with potable water. So that's the project that I started working on. I was like, well, what I need to do is I need to locate another spring, or source in French, that comes up out the ground, that's clean, that's not like polluted by, they didn't have like industrial situations there that would be polluted by wildlife, or wildlife, any source of pollution really. It was away from the town. So I asked these little kids, these Congolese kids, because me, as an American, which nobody had seen before, remember, they didn't know Americans. Right? They knew Cubans, they knew French, they knew people from the Soviet Union. They didn't know Americans. So I always had these little kids trailing around me. God damn, they got on my nerves. I mean, if you're having a bad day and you're really hot, these little kids like me. Anyway, I always had them trailing around me, so I got the idea one day just to ask them, like, hey, can you show me, there's got to be some place, again, this is a jungle, lots of water, there's got to be some place where, close to the village where water comes out the ground. And they're like, oh yeah, let's go over there. I had these, 3 little kids, and I followed them to this one location. But what they trained us to do on this particular, in order to protect a source, i.e. a spring, make it potable, they told us the dimensions we need to take. Here's what the landscape had to have. It had to have water all year round, not just during the rainy season, because it was dry season and rainy season. It had to produce water all year round. It had to have a steady slope away from it, because there's going to be drainage issues. It had to be good clay, good rocks, and good bamboo. Bamboo would be used as a pipe, like a regular pipe and an overflow pipe. Basically, you're building a dam. You're building a small dam. And so they took me to this one location. It was pretty close to the center of town. And when I saw it, I was like, Shazam! This is perfect. I mean, this is like exactly what they told us they wanted to do. So I had my tape measure, and I measured everything, and I spent around with those kids there. I spent around an hour or two doing all the measurements, because I'd have to figure out the material list. And I needed all these measurements to do that, so I was really happy with myself. I was like, damn, this side project's gonna be bigger than my real project. And as we were walking away, this is the inspiration. This is where it hit me. I realized, and I'm actually really proud of myself, y'all, when I realized this. I looked around and I did not see one footpath. I did not see one path used. And normally when you go out in the bush, go out in the jungle, there's footpaths, right? If it's used, it's going to be footpaths, whether or not it's wildlife or people's footpaths. There were no footpaths. And I was like, damn, people got to know this thing's here. I mean, they've been here for thousands of years, right? And nobody uses it. So I asked one of the little kids, I'm like, why don't y'all use this water here? And he's like, oh, it tastes funny. And I was like, shit, I didn't taste it. So I went back there and I tasted a very high sulfur content. Nobody would have ever tasted it. So they would have easily, because I'm Miss White Savior USA, they would have easily allowed me to build that project. This is what we think is best for you. We think this would do you well to do this. And that would have taken 6 months and a lot of people's time, effort, energy, and money. Nobody would use it. It tastes good. So that's when inspiration hit me. I was 24, y'all, when this happened. You need to ask stakeholders what they want, what they need. You do not need to tell people what they need, what you think they need, what you think they want. And, like tying into the whole Katrina thing, stakeholders. Have meetings with your stakeholders. The people that actually live there, that actually do there, that actually love there. You need to understand from them what they need. Do not tell them what they need. Do not build fucking Brad Pitt bullshit that you think they need, bitch. They need something that looks like New Orleans and feels like New Orleans. Don't give me no fancy architect. Look how messed up that shit went. Because they didn't ask. I was